I want to tell you a story. Once, a man was talking to his friend who noticed that he seemed quite down. "What's wrong?" asked the friend. "Last night, I had a terrible dream," said the man. "I wanted to write a novel, but I didn't have time. I had a lot of ideas, but I wasn't sure which one to work on, and I was afraid it would be bad. So I told myself, not yet. I told myself, I'll do it later. I told myself, when I have time. In my dream, the years passed quickly. I got older and older, but I never found time to write my novel. Then I died." Wow, that's a depressing dream. That's not the end. It gets worse. Worse than dying? I went to the gates of heaven. An angel asked me, "Where's your gift? That's your key to enter." I asked, "What gift?" The angel said, "The gift to the world that only you could create." I said, I don't have it. I have none." "What about your novel?" asked the angel. "My novel?" I asked, "but I never wrote it." "It was your job to write it," said the angel, "because no one else could put words to your dreams." "But I never found time to write," I said. "It was your job to make the time to write," said the angel, "because no one else could make the time for you." "But my novel was no good." "It was your job to learn to make it good," said the angel, "because no one else could love it until you loved it." Then what happened? Then I woke up. What are you going to do now? I can make time to write. I can learn what I need to know to make this a good book. I am the only one who can write this novel. I'm going to write my novel because no one else can write it for me. What are you going to do now? I always swore to myself that I wasn't going to be one of those writers who turned around and taught writing. Honestly, I just wanted to focus on my own novels. And yes, it's true that if I had never taken the plunge and studied with other writers and studied the techniques of other writers, then I never would have been able to become a published novelist myself. But somehow it took me a while to really make that connection. I really was sort of forced into it because it was kind of my readers who did it. I get two kinds of emails from my readers, basically saying two things. When's the next book out in your series? And can you help me write my own novel? And after getting all of these emails, it finally kind of hit me. You know what? Maybe for newbie writers, this is actually something I can really do for them. And it's just like, why did it take me so long to figure out that I needed to study writing? I don't know. Why did it take me so long to figure out that I could actually help people by teaching writing? I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little slow. But I kept getting these emails. When's your next book out? And can you help me with my own novel? And I finally thought, light bulb. Okay, why not do both at the same time? If there's an easy way and a hard way, I always try to find the hard way to do it. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could let newbie writers in on my process of writing? We'd sort of be working on it together, but I would be passing on all the advice that I've picked up, my own step-by-step process that I use to go through and write my novel, and all the little tricks and hacks and secret techniques that I've picked up along the way from some of the greatest writers on the planet. And wouldn't that be cool? And that is how I got the idea to, first of all, write my book, the 30-day novel, and then to do this workshop on it because people still wanted more. They still asked me for more. Your book is great, but can you guide me through it? I need more. So, all right, here it is. You brought me to it kicking and screaming. So here I am. And this is still kind of a special thing for me. And I'm not going to be doing it all the time. This is going to be a one-time workshop. I'm only offering it right now. If I offer it in the future, I don't know when that's going to be. It's going to be a long time from now. So I'm doing it this month. It's going to be really special and really unique, and I really want you to be there. But if you don't get in during the registration period, I won't be able to include you. The registration's only going to be open for a short time because I want everyone to get started, and I want you to really have the full month to really work on it and go to it. So I'm going to need to close down that registration pretty quickly and get everybody in as fast as possible. So I just wanted to warn you about that. And the same thing goes for these free videos. I wanted to get them out there so that I could have as much material for everybody, so everybody could do as much as they could, whatever level you're on. So do watch the videos and grab the free workbook while they're still available, and while they are still available, because it won't be forever. It's not going to be very much longer, actually. So even if you do nothing else, at least do the work in those videos, and that actually is already going to really get you started. I tried to give you the best and the meatiest material, but there's just so much more. There's so much more. There really is a lot. I know from experience that just because you finished a novel doesn't mean it's actually any good. And I know that it's really important to just keep writing. That is good advice, because sometimes the critical voices in your head are so powerful that if you don't just keep writing, you won't write it at all. But it's also true that if you go in without a plan and you go in without quite knowing what you're doing, it's going to take a long time to take that rough draft that you've written and turn it into a polished jewel, a publishable novel. A really long time. Yes, it's great if you can finish your first draft in a month, but how long are you going to take in revision? How many months? How many years? Believe me, it can take years. Or even worse, to me, this is even worse. You're going to embarrass yourself by sending out a badly crafted book to a publisher or an agent, or God forbid, you're going to try and sell it before it's ready. Thousands of books are just shoved out there into the world. With the authors, they didn't know any better. They didn't know what went into making a good book. And, they did their best, but then they don't understand why nobody wants to buy it, why nobody wants to read it. And honestly, those novels often suck. And I know you've seen those novels out there. I know you know what I'm talking about. And you do not want yours to be one of them. The three big problems that I see a lot of writers having is that first, they tackle a project that they're not ready for. So that's why I provided the information to help you sort out from all the ideas that I know you have, sort through those and find the project that is really going to be the one you can write now, that you're going to succeed right out the gate because you picked the right project. That's the first step. Then the second step is giving that story a backbone and not having a story that is going to start in the wrong place, end in the wrong place, sag in the middle. You're going to want to have a really strong backbone. And so that's the second, really important piece that I tried to provide for you. And then finally, so much of the things that sabotage us are not technical, they're psychological. And that's why I just wanted to give you a way to fight back against the doubts and the doubters and inspire you in that way, because it's a really important piece so that you're not sabotaging yourself as you write. So even if you have just the free workbooks, that's already a lot of material. It should be enough to at least get you started. But I know that some of you still want more. You still want to go deeper. You still have questions and you still want to learn more awesome little hacks and tricks to really nail that novel like a pro. For instance, the beat sheet, you might be having trouble fleshing it out and filling it in for the particular story that you have in mind. And you might be wondering, well, this outline isn't quite doing it for me. Are there any others? Yes, there are. I actually have a couple other outline templates that I use. Sometimes I use the beat sheet, sometimes I use one of the other ones. It depends on the story, right? So I do have a few more of those, and I just wasn't able to get to them in this. So they're going to be in the workshop. Another thing that you may be wondering is, you've heard all these weird pieces of advice going around like show, don't tell. What the heck does that really mean? And how do you apply it? That's just like a hook, a mnemonic to help people remember a whole bunch of pieces that go into show, don't tell. It applies on the sentence level, on the chapter level, and on the whole book level. And there's different ways, different rubrics that you use to know exactly when to show and exactly when to tell. Because I want to tell you a little secret. If you tell too much, that's kind of like, description and narration. If you tell too much, it's going to make a boring story. But what you often don't get told is that if you show too much, if you show everything, it's going to be boring too, in a different way, but just as bad. So what you always want to know is when to show, when to tell. And there are some really pointed questions, some really focused questions that can help you go through your book scene by scene and see whether you should be showing or telling in that scene. So another thing you may be wondering is, what about subplots and different point of view characters, especially if you have multiple points of view characters? That beat sheet doesn't necessarily tell you how do you juggle those subplots. Well, I'm going to be going over that. Subplots are really important, and especially really important in controlling the length of your book. And I'm going to get into how that all ties together too. It's really, really cool. And I'm also going to tell you the 3 subplots that can improve almost any novel. So 3 magic subplots that are so awesome. You can put them into almost any novel and it will improve. Then genres. There's different rules for different genres, right? What is the one thing that almost always trips up beginning romance readers? If you don't put this one thing into a romance, if you don't do this, your whole book is going to fall flat. It is critical in a romance, and I'm going to tell you what that is. Then if you're writing a mystery, there's a special way of outlining a mystery novel that's different than any other kind of outline for any other kind of book. And if you're writing a mystery, you're going to want to use that, or you're going to end up completely tangled up and lost in your mystery. So if you're writing a series, say epic fantasy, there's also a different kind of master outline and a different approach that you need to take when you're writing a series, especially when it's a continuing story arc. And that's a whole different set of questions that you need to ask than if you're just writing one book. And yes, I'm going to go over that. And actually, even if you're writing an episodic series, like a mystery series, there's certain questions you need to ask for that too, and you're going to want to know what those are if you're working on this kind of series. Another challenge, and this is going to especially hit you science fiction and thriller writers, is how do you deal with info dumps? There's all this specialized information that you need to pack into your book, because if you don't, the reader is going to feel lost. They're not going to be able to suspend their disbelief and believe what's going on in your book because you haven't set up the preparation. But on the other hand, if you throw too much information at them, they're going to get bored and they're just going to skip it, and it's not going to have the same effect anyway. So what are the tricks for putting in info dumps? There's 3 really powerful tricks for doing info dumps. And here's the thing, you've probably seen them a million times, and it's so subtle that you didn't even realize what you were reading. And when I tell you it's going to be like a light bulb going off in your head, you're going to be like, of course, how come I never noticed that before? Oh my gosh, of course, it's so easy. Why didn't I see it? You just have to know these really cool, these 3 really cool tricks. So another thing is, if you're still struggling with time, I also have another little trick that I stole from life hackers. If you already know a lot about life hacking, making your life more efficient, you probably already know this, but if you don't, it is going to really change how you approach your writing. And in fact, really, you can apply this to almost any aspect of your life to improve it and make it more focused and more efficient. And I'm going to teach you that trick too. So simple, and yet it can make such a huge difference once you know what it is. So then, this is not a marketing workshop, but there are some marketing principles that are so basic. As a bonus, I'm just going to throw it in there, and I'm going to tell you, newbie writers, 5 things you need to be doing even before you're published, even before your book is a twinkle in your eye. You should already be doing these 5 things to start building the platform for your book. And there's 3 things that you should never do because they are just a huge time suck. And you might know what some of those are, but I bet you don't know all 3. So I'm just going to include that as a bonus because marketing has become just a fact of life for every writer. So, like I've said before, marketing is its whole own issue. Probably need an entire workshop just for that, but I just want to at least have this little bonus in there so you can get started on that. And whether you're a newbie writer or you've actually published a few books but they didn't do as well as you liked, or maybe they did but you just want to learn to write faster and more efficiently and really put those books out there and not waste so much time in revisions, this workshop is really going to help you. And we've packed so much into it because it's not just me. I'm also working together with another teacher, Rain Hall. She specializes in horror and dark fantasy, and she is very good at teaching writing. She's excellent. She's taught me so many tricks, and I know she's taught a lot of people really, really just very good principles of writing. She's going to be helping me out as well. And we may have a few surprises too, which I'm not going to tell you until you're on the other side, until you're inside the workshop portal. And you know what? This really is a portal. It's a portal to another world, a world where you are on your way to being a professional writer, a world where you are a professional writer, even if you haven't sold a book yet, even if you haven't finished a book yet. You're a professional writer when you start to treat your writing professionally. And this is the first step to doing that. This is the first step to maybe making money on your hobby, making your hobby pay for itself, or starting your writing career, or really taking your writing career, if you've already published a few books, taking your writing career to the next level where you can do it full time. So go ahead, click below and register. Registration is open and it will only be open for a short time. I want to help you become the published and well-paid writer that you know you can be. Hey, true story. When I was 8, my mom actually took me to a psychologist because my teacher had reported that I spent too much time in a fantasy world. Yes, this really happened. So after talking to me, the psychologist reported to my mom, "Oh, don't worry. She told me she plans to be a writer." So yes, I dreamed of being a writer. I have dreamed of being a writer since I was 8 years old. But for so many years, it was just that. It was just a dream. And the older I got, the further that dream seemed to slip away from me. I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and what I was writing wasn't any good, and most of the time I couldn't even finish it. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I was just going in circles until I finally made the commitment that I was going to learn to do this. I was going to treat it like a pro would treat it. And I was going to learn those professional techniques. And that's what finally made all the difference. When I committed to myself, when I developed my no-fail formulas, which, like I said, I got from studying with so many different professional writers and dissecting so many books, I learned those techniques, I learned the craft, and that is what made the difference. That's what enabled me to go from being just a dreamer to being a true author. The first time I applied my step-by-step no-fail formula techniques to a book, do you know how long it took me to write that book? 14 days. No, 14 days. Now, what about the second time I wrote the book? Remember, early on, I had written a book really fast, and then I couldn't repeat it. So, the first time I did this, I thought, well, maybe it's just another fluke, right? So I tried it again. Well, this one took me longer. 16 days. Okay? And you know what? The best part was that I wrote these books so fast, and they weren't worse. They were better. In fact, That book that I wrote in 14 days was the first book that I ever got published. I sold it to a traditional publisher, and they liked it so much they asked me if I had anything else. I sent them the second book, and I sold that one too. Okay? So it improved. It completely changed everything in my life. And yeah, later I decided to go indie, and that's a whole other story. A tale for another day. But my point is, these formulas work. That's why I'm passing them on to you. I wouldn't do it if they didn't work. They worked for me, and I'm hoping they'll work for you. But you know what? If they don't, if for some reason they don't work for you, there's no risk, because if you sign up for the course and it's not working, you're in the workshop, something comes up or you don't like it or it's just not a fit, it's no problem. You just ask for your refund. I will give it to you. No questions asked. I'm not going to harass you about it. I understand. Real life. It just happens. Sometimes it happens. And I don't want you to be stressing over this. Go ahead and take the course if it works for you. If you're in the workshop and you love it, great. If it's not working, full refund. Okay? This is not a stressful thing. I want this to be a no-brainer, and I want it to be something that is going to be helpful and awesome for you. And if it's not, I'll give you every cent back. You are not going to risk or lose anything. Okay? So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying this. Okay? So just think that by this time next month, your book could be done, and it could be super awesome. You could start shopping it around to a traditional publisher if you want, or an agent. And at first, they're going to be a little suspicious, because they're going to worry that you're one of those people who just, vomited out whatever crap came into your head and that you didn't know what you were doing. And when they read your book and they realize that, you know what? Heck yeah, you know what you're doing. You're writing like a pro. They're going to be super impressed. And they're going to be blown away by how sleek and polished it is. Or maybe after you finish your book and you've edited it, you're going to publish it yourself. I actually think that's a pretty good path to take in today's industry, obviously, since I switched from traditional to indie publishing. And again, readers are going to find your book and they're going to wonder, is this another indie who's an amateur and doesn't really know how to write? They're going to read your book and they're going to realize, no, this is professional quality. This book rocks. And you know what? They're going to be your future fans. So this is what could be going on for you a month from now, 2 months from now. I just want you to allow yourself to imagine that and picture what your goal is, what you want to get out of this workshop, because the more clearly you have that goal in mind, the more likely it is that you're going to achieve that goal. Sure, you could do this without my workshop. It's going to take you a lot longer to write your book. It's going to take you a lot longer to figure out if something's not working, if something's going wrong, you're going to have to figure it out on your own. And I know you're smart and I know you can do it, but this is just going to save you so much time and frustration, and you're just going to be able to do it right out of the gate. And that's so much better. Believe me, it's so much better. So I want you to join the workshop, and I know you're interested or you wouldn't still be watching this video. So once again, you have nothing to lose. Just give it a chance. If you're serious about writing, if you love to write, you can't keep procrastinating. You owe it to yourself to give this a try. Because you know what? You're always going to be busy. You're going to be busy next month and the month after that and the year after that and the year after that. Real life is relentless. It is never going to stop punching you in the face with distractions. You have to fight back. Otherwise, you're going to let your whole life slip away, and you're never going to find time to pursue your dream. And it is so easy to let it slip away, and then the opportunity's gone. Your story is gone, and no one else can write it. No one else can write your story. This is your gift to the world. And I hear you scoffing inside. I know, gift to the world. Come on, Tara, that's a little over the top there. But you know what? Don't denigrate it. Fiction is a gift. The ability to escape into another world. If you're a reader, you know this. Think about how important books have been in your own life. And how empty your life would have been if you had nothing to read, if you had never read your favorite books. Now think about how your future reader is going to feel if your book doesn't exist. That's what I'm saying, and I'm completely serious. Nobody else can write your novel. Yeah, I can write a novel. I can write my novels, but I can't write your novel. Only you can do that. I don't want you to overthink this and talk yourself out of it because you're afraid, and then you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I want you to just go ahead, click, and register. And remember, you can always get a refund later if you change your mind. You can, okay? But I want you to join the workshop and learn the secrets of the prose so that you can take your novel and craft it like a beautiful work of art, pouring all your passion and all your love into it, and then polishing that with these secret techniques and these methods that professional writers use so that it shines, okay? You are the hero of your own story, and this is your call to adventure. This is the portal, and once you step across this portal, once you take that leap of faith and cross to the other side, nothing is ever going to be the same. So click the button, register, cross into the portal, come and join us on the other side.